On this night, we gather to remember. We open our hearts and minds to relive the pain and victory which have become for us the doorway to the eternal. We recognize the shadows which encroach on every life and meditate on that one moment in history when the shadows seem to extinguish the light entirely. We come in awe and in worship, for the darkness has never and will never, even in such a time as this, overcome the light revealed in the human life and death of Jesus Christ.
I am Judas. You may know me as the betrayer. I don't know when it happened, but things changed somehow. At first, he was strong, confident, outspoken. I had such high hopes. Finally, a leader to throw off the Romans. But just when the time was right, at the height of his popularity, he withdrew. He became quiet and almost introspective. I thought a bit of a push would help him to reach for greatness. Pass on a little information about his movements and make a bit on the side for me, and then watch him rise to victory when they came for him. Only it didn't work out like that. He let them take him. "You'll betray me, Judas," he said. I wonder how he knew. I thought I'd been discreet, but I didn't expect it to turn out the way that it did.
Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when they crucified my Lord?
I am Salome, mother of James and John. He was such a unique boy, my nephew, cousin to my sons, James and John, but more of a friend to them, really, and to me. He was always caring, always serving, and always putting others first. I remember when I asked him if my boys could sit on thrones with him in his kingdom, one on his left and one on his right. "Salome," he said to me, "the great ones in God's kingdom are the ones who serve. Even I have come to serve and to lay down my life." I felt rather humbled that day. It's incredible that in his time of agony, praying all alone, the ones he served so well couldn't serve him in return, not for one short hour. There they were, my sons and Peter, all asleep while Jesus cried and sweated blood, and none of the others of us were any better. Alone he prayed, "Take this cup away from me, but not my will, Father, yours be done."
Were you there when he agonized and prayed? Were you there when he agonized and prayed? Sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when he agonized and prayed?
I am Jesus' friend, John. I've never experienced anything like this. That was a dark night. We didn't expect those terrible things. Perhaps we should have foreseen it, prepared for it. Maybe then we would have reacted differently and stood with him through it all. But we didn't understand. So there we were, Peter, James, and me, fast asleep, oblivious to his pain. And suddenly he's waking us up, and there's Judas and lights and swords and soldiers, and they're arresting Jesus. We were no match for them, and they would have taken us too. We were terrified. And so we ran away, all of us, and left him to face their swords alone.
Were you there when the Lord's friends turned and fled? Were you there when the Lord's friends turned and fled? Sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when the Lord's friends turned and fled?
I am Peter. I just don't know what to say. What was I thinking? I expected so much more from myself. Oh, at the table it was easy. When Jesus talked about being betrayed and arrested and dying, I was angry and protective. I'll fight for you, Lord, I said. I'll die for you. I thought he was just frightened and emotional when he replied, "No, Peter. Before the cock crows 3 times, you will deny knowing me." Deny him? I wouldn't have thought it possible. But that was then. Now I know it's true. When it finally came down to it, I couldn't fight for him. I couldn't die for him. I couldn't even answer the question. I couldn't say, "Yes, I know him. I follow him. I believe in him." And as they led him away, he looked at me. Those eyes. I expected anger and judgment, but there was only love. Yes, in his eyes, there was only love.
Were you there when they nailed him to the tree? Were you there when they nailed him to the tree? Sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when they nailed him to the tree?
am Mary Magdalene. People were curious about my devotion to Jesus, but it's easy to understand, really. I lived with accusations all my life. Adulterer, prostitute, madwoman, evil, possessed. They said it all and more, and much of it was true. But Jesus, he didn't accuse. He didn't judge. He didn't make any demands or require anything. For the first time, someone saw past my pain and my brokenness to my soul and gave me the freedom that I longed for. Of course I was devoted. Ironic that the one who accepted and included all without accusation should be forced to hear lies about himself, should stand alone and face all those pointed fingers. The one whose only crime was acceptance was sentenced to death by the false accusations of the ones he sought to love and heal.
Were you there when they pierced him in the side? Were you there when they pierced him in the side? Oh, sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when they pierced him in the side?
I am Thomas. Somehow, I've developed a reputation for doubt and questioning. A little unfairly, I think, but I do confess to being confused and uncertain, especially at the end. I mean, he healed the sick, he raised the dead, the whole nation was eating out of the palm of his hand, and then suddenly they were shouting, "Crucify him!" With all his power, he just stood there. And then when the soldiers mocked him, he just took it all. They stripped his body, torn from the terrible flogging, and pretended to worship him as a king, with a crown of hard Judean thorns. They hit him, spat on him, and pulled out his hair and beard. How was I to understand this? He could have snuffed them out in a heartbeat. But he didn't. He just let them mock.
Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Oh, sometimes tremble. Were you there when they crucified my Lord?
Should I have known that moment would come? There had been death threats from when he was a baby, and he'd spoken about his death more than once. Maybe I should have seen it, but nothing can prepare a mother to watch her child die. I don't know how I got through that day. My son, sentenced to crucifixion, the slowest and most agonizing death, executed with thieves. My son who had done nothing wrong, and in the face of it all, he forgave them, forgave all of us. Then he cried out, "It is finished." And as I watched that last breath leave his body, it was like me dying up there.
Were you there when they laid him in the tomb? Were you there when they laid him in the tomb? Sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when they laid him in the tomb?
If I was unprepared for Jesus' death, I was completely flabbergasted by what would follow.
He became a man. Christ became a man and laid aside the glory he had known to be a carpenter, a simple carpenter, a lowly servant, rejected by his own. But God exalted him, God has uplifted him, and has given him a name above all names, that every knee shall bow, in earth and heaven above, and every tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. He became a man. Christ became a man whose destiny was death upon a tree. Still he became a man, a gentle, loving man, a man of sorrow, acquainted with grief. But God exalted him, God has uplifted him and has given him a name above all names, that every knee shall bow in earth and heaven above, and every tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. God has exalted him, he has uplifted him, and has given him a name above all names, that every knee shall bow in earth and heaven above, and every tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, and every tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. He is Lord.